Hey there boys and girls, Lucky here and welcome back to another episode of Noob to Pro, the series that should help you to get better at Counter-Strike Global Offensive. So today we will be talking about 3 points that will actually hold you back while trying to improve at the game and to rank up in CSGO. As always, Noob to Pro is a 3-part series, so on Mondays you'll always get the big tutorial or / guide video like this one. Then on Tuesday you will be able to watch me in my stream so I can answer more of your guys' questions. After that, usually my girlfriend will be streaming her Noob to Pro training. And Sunday there's sometimes a highlights episode of what was happening on the week, or sometimes even if you have like had additional questions, but I'd say let's get right into it. Okay, so let's talk about your skill first. And when I'm saying skill right here, I'm mostly referring to mechanical skill. That's the kind of skill you need to aim and to move. So basically your basic controls over your character in game so that you can do certain things, like for example jumping up right here and then over here with a crouch jump and then strafing around mid-air and just getting on these lamps to do all sorts of things and then just like use an off angle. Now, those are your basic skills that I always try to emphasize for you guys to learn, and it's like the first problem. People don't really think that, or better said, people fail to realize or to understand that their mechanical skills are still lacking a lot. And by that I mean they haven't put in the hours to actually get good. So this jump right here should be very easy to do. It's just a simple strafe. You can do it with one, you can do it with like 2 strafes mid-air, and it's very easy. Same goes for like jumping on the slam with the crouch jump and then again strafing around to do this one. Just controlling a character mid-air is one of the essential things you have to learn in CS in order to like do these kind of things. Then again, I also talked about stutter stepping, like basically every time I do something about this game and how you should be able to do this. Now, you should not just be able to do this. Like many people tell me that they're firing against the wall and they're controlling the recoil and the spray and they're just firing against it, and like they say when they're doing it against the wall they can just hit everything, but as soon as they see like an enemy in game they're just like, oh no, what, no, wait, I can't hit him anymore. So the issue with that is, first of all, training your brain to fire against the wall is something different than training your brain to fire against a player model. That's like the first thing. Now, the second thing is that as soon as you're in-game, there's going to be like a different environment. And that's like another part where you have to train your mechanical skill for, because when you're just like alone and you're just firing against the wall, you got all the time in the world to prepare yourself. Okay, now I'm firing and I'm controlling my recoil and all of that stuff, so I'm good to go. However, as soon as you're in-game, you have to be able to adapt, you have to be able to adjust, you basically want to be flexible in all those situations. Now, if you always have to think like, okay, they're coming in here, my crosshair placement should be right here, and then they're running in, and then I have to control like this over there to well, track their movement and stuff like that. As long as you have to think about that, you won't be able to properly do it in-game, and this will keep you inconsistent. It has to become second nature. So for example, you're driving around in your car, and you're controlling your clutch right here, and you're switching the gear and stuff like that. It has to be second nature. It has to be like an automatic process in order to do that. Otherwise, you just have to think, and when you're thinking like about controlling or how to control your character in the game, you cannot properly like think or like focus on the game. So you really have to put in many hours and actually to get better, and like especially since CS has a very well, a special movement system, let's call it like that, you really have to train and practice a lot with it in order to get consistent. And many people actually underestimate that, and we'll talk about that a little later again, but like that's another big issue. Let's talk about the next thing, which would be knowledge. Having knowledge about the game is very important. You want to actually have knowledge. You want to know that your nade is doing so and so much damage, it's flying like that range and bounces one and then explodes right here, or how you can actually do like the self-pop flash so you can run with it and it's flashing anyone there and you can just fire at them, stuff like that. And then you also of course want to have like certain nade spots, and this is like a thing for many beginners. So you say you're for example right here, and then you're just throwing your smoke grenade up there, and you're just walking up, so everything perfect, it's completely smoked off. So that's a good smoke you want to do. Now, specifically when you're a new player or like lower to mid-range ranks, you tend to just go right here, line yourself up like this for the wheel, and then find the perfect point to like at the very top of the sickle and then hold it, and then yes, that's perfect, and you throw it. Now doing that will of course, the guide enabled you to be able to do the smoke. You learned the smoke from the guide. However, you didn't learn how to throw the smoke. You learned the spot and how to line it up, but it has to become second nature as well. You have to just line it up and throw it. Having the knowledge to do that is important. You want to be able to smoke that off in order to help your teammate right here, or just to give yourself an easier time, or to set yourself up for a crossfire in that spot. But having too much knowledge can actually hinder you, because first of all, like right here, it's not guaranteeing you to be actually able to execute it in an efficient way. So it's really, again, practice in order to get it down, become better with it. And this is kind of the tendency for this video altogether, so I'm kind of spoiling that, sorry in advance about that, but it's really about putting in time. Now, another problem that I often see is that some people, again, this is mainly for the mid-ranks, they have too much theoretical knowledge. So they know they have to like stutter step in order to be accurate, but it looks a little like this when they're doing it, because they haven't played it, like learned it yet, and you see the bullets are kind of flying all over. So if you want to do it properly, you have to learn it. Again, this is like the first point, you have to put in the hours. So when you have too much theoretical knowledge about what you should be doing, it can actually hinder you in that way. So you do know what to do, but you never really practice how to do it. And just by thinking, or better said, by knowing what you should do, it's not an automatic process. Again, this ties into the first point again, but I just felt it's important to repeat. Now, the other issue with having too much knowledge is that you're getting undecisive. And undecisive is bad, because it just means you're getting out right here and you're like, okay, could he be here? Could he be here? Here? Where is he? Like, and you're just kind of looking like a very hectic chicken, kind of. And then again, you kind of like, okay, I could throw this flash, and I could throw this flash. And this again ties in kind of a little bit with the first point again. You have so much knowledge about all those nades you can throw, and like about different spots you can be hiding, and like one-way smokes you would be able to do, and you know theoretically you can jump around right here, so you're aware of that. But like knowing all these things without like concentrating on only one, like from the start, can be a little overwhelming. Like CS in general is overwhelming with all the controls you have to do to learn, like all the things that are going on with like your utility, your teammates, just the bomb sites, everything, the time is running out. So this again, undecisiveness is really a bad thing, because you're just kind of like this in game, and you're like, okay, what should I do? And like this is like a known issue for many mid-range players, and especially when they're trying to play with high-rank players. And the high ranks are just pushing in, they're doing the thing, and the mid-range players kind of like, okay, what should we do? Should I look here? Should I look there? Like, I know that they can come from here, but they can also come from here, so where should I be looking? By having that too much knowledge, you can be undecisive in that way. So make sure, for example, when you're learning the game, especially since Noob to Pro is about trying to learn it from the basics on, well, learn only a couple of the things. Learn the necessary basics about the movement and the shooting mechanics, and then maybe learn like one smoke grenade for mid, for B, and for A. Only like that. And then practice that so you can like do it every time. You can like do different things in order to be more efficient. This is also a nice flash pops right here, so you can push in to the garage house right here, and the guys in here are blinded. And that's like the second big issue, having too much knowledge that is kind of making you undecisive, especially if you haven't put in the time to properly practice it yet. Alrighty, so now let's talk about the last point, which again ties in with the previous two, and it's overestimating your own abilities. So at one point you really are kind of decent at stutter stepping, you know how to do it, you know how to fire accurately, you know that your game sense is telling you if I'm going in right here, there might be someone here at the white box, so just pre-firing right here in his head could be very efficient in order to kill the guy, just standing here and waiting for me to kill me. So you know basically how to play the game, you know how to control your character, and maybe you even know to do like good B-hops on bunny hop servers or stuff like that. Now, this kind of is one of the bigger issues after you've actually learned point 1 and 2, so you finally put in the hours to learn the game, you finally can apply all the theoretical knowledge you had previously but were like too much to handle at the beginning, which made you undecisive, and now you can combine both of that, and you're a decent player at Counter-Strike, so congrats for that, you're now average. Like, that's the sad truth. Even after mastering these two things, like just mechanical skill and your theoretical knowledge, you're only average. It's now like more about fine-tuning than in combination and being able to properly rely on your game sense and play around with your team, and again, adjust against enemy team compositions and stuff like that, which will really make you better. And that's why, like, playing with friends and just trying to get a team and get better with a team can really help you in that way to better understand the game even more. Now, the first big problem is that, first of all, you overestimate your own ability, meaning that since you learned that, you think you're super good now, and that's like mostly where it comes from. Okay, I'm only Master Guardian Elite, but I really should be global because I can perfectly fire and stuff like that. And that's like the common issue. So usually people call MGE DMG like the Elo-hell for like the most part, and that's because at that point people know how to control the character, they know how to move around, they know what they should be doing theoretically, and they also can apply that to well, a wider extent than they previously would be able to, so they know how to run and shoot. So you're now at the level where you can basically play Call of Duty. Like in Call of Duty you can just go in and do that, in Counter-Strike you have to put in like 300 hours in order to be able to do that, so that's quite different, but like that's the first thing. Do not overestimate your own abilities. Always stay humble and kind of be critical of what you're doing, but again, do not like put yourself down. You still should be confident, but don't overestimate your own abilities. And people often do that by another mistake, and that is your peak performance. So let's say you've been playing right here in cache, so every time you were just going towards A as terrorist, you're clearing out the point, killing all the people right here, planting the bomb, and you go out of the game with like 40 kills and 9 MVPs, and you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, I am such a good player. Why the hell am I still MGE and I see like a global and he only has like 10 and 13 and he barely won the game? So first of all, you have to understand, of course, he's also playing against other globals, like it's a whole different kind of play, and then you're like, let's say this is like a skill level indicator. This is bad, this is like decent, and this is good. Like, or like average and good. Now, your peak performance is probably right here. However, you should also always compare your worst performances. Like if you compare this to FPS, it's kind of the same way. Do you rather have like, let's say 400 FPS, like at some points, and then drops down to 20? Or would you much rather have always like 200 or 150 to 200 FPS? Of course this one, because having this will make you inconsistent. So by getting better and not just like seeing your peak performances, but more like concentrating on your worst performances and trying to put them up even further and push them into the average like spots right here, you basically get to a point where you either have like good games or like average games. And that's kind of your goal, because you never can be the best. Like you never can be always top fragging, you never can be always just like plant the bomb and clutch around. It's of course something you should try to do, like just to be like the best, but you want to make your worst games your average games, so that you still go like, okay, at 20 frags we still won, I still support my teammates, I still was able to like flash the enemies and set up like a crossfire, stuff like that. So peak performance players, they often have like very bad performances as well, and they only see their good stuff, and they're not seeing the bad stuff. And this is what really makes them hold themselves back from actually getting better, because as I said before, they learned how to stutter step, they learned how to move and shoot in the game, so they think, okay, I can do this, like I can play this game, why am I not ranking up? And it's because you're not seeing that you're not ready yet, kind of. And these are kind of three mistakes that people often do or kind of fail to understand. And since Noob to Pro pretty much covered all the basics that should like prevent you from doing your worst stuff, like Noob to Pro should put you at a point where you like can successfully go to MGE at this point. Like even if you haven't done like most training things, you should be able to do, just from my general point of view. But then again, as I said before, it's kind of different for everyone, and you have to put in a lot of time in order to just get the basics down, so you can only play Call of Duty, and then you have to still like a lot of room up to the skill ceiling in order to improve, because that's just how CS works, and that's something you have to understand. So again, for this episode there's no special training. I still want you guys to focus on your basics and to apply your knowledge to your normal mechanical skills in order to combine them. And that's like, for example, pre-aiming and pre-firing. Mechanical skill only would be just to go in and then flick to the target and shoot him. That's like mechanical skill. but being able to pre-aim pre-fire is kind of, you know someone could be there, so you're pre-aiming and then you only have to click instead of do like the whole aiming and react to it. So it's kind of a combination of that. That's why pre-aiming is so important. It's combining a mechanical skill with your game knowledge, kind of. So yeah, as always, just do your normal training for this week once again, since we still have a lot to grind in order to get to a decent point in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. But I think it's pretty all for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and LuckySkillFaker out.